Oh boy, here we go once again. And it is time for race number 3 of 29 in the 1989 throwbacks. And well, we've got two winners this season, Geoffrey Bodine and Tim Richmond, in two races, both of them Hendrick Motorsports. We'll see if that trend continues here at the Motorcraft Quality Parts 500 here at Atlanta. This has been traditionally one of the more chaotic races on the schedule, not necessarily due to the number of cautions, but due to the idea that literally anybody can win here. Although we haven't seen too many completely chaotic races, we have seen instances where late race cautions have screwed up a lot of pit strategy in the past. A lot of pitch strategy. See how things go. Tim Richmond on the pole. Look at this. 3 out of the 4 Hendrick cars. 1, 2, 3. Richmond, Waltrip, Schrader, and then put Earnhardt on there for all top 4 cars being a Chevrolet. So a complete lockout of the front of the pack by Chevrolet here. Masterful. Absolutely masterful. There's really not much you can say about this, but anyways, let's go to your top 10 of your command real quick. Got Tim Richmond in first, Darrell Waltrip second, Ken Schrader third, Dale Earnhardt fourth, Rusty Wallace fifth, Harry Gant sixth, Bill Elliott seventh, Terry Labonte eighth, Phil Parsons in ninth, and Ricky Rudd rounding out your top 10.
Start your engines.
The command has been given as I time that absolutely perfectly, as we're going to have yet another race here at Atlanta. This is always a really, really interesting track. A 1.528 mile oval, 82 laps, and this track described by most as a never-ending turn. It's a really difficult track to go for a lot of laps on. The green flag is out here from Atlanta, and we are underway. Going straight up to the front, Tim Richmond will jump out to the early lead. Ken Schrader will easily grab the second position as well. You'll see them rise to the outside potentially here. And or not, they will not rise to the outside. Rusty Wallace will take third, and looks like Elliott will take fourth, as Darrell Waltrip will drop all the way down to fifth in just one lap. And meanwhile, Wallace is just going to go right on the tack immediately, but right behind him, here comes Ken Schrader, someone who's been middled in the mid-card these past few years. And especially last year, he was really relegated down as this team was terrible. But now this 35 team for Ken Schrader, it seems to be a very solid team. Might be going a long way. You can see Rusty Wallace here. He's going to get underneath the 25 of Tim Richmond. Trying to really push forward here. And there you go. Wallace will move into the second position. And you take a look at the front. Other than Ken Schrader, absolutely no surprises. The 4 people that dominated the 1988 championship are up here. You've got Rusty Wallace second, Tim Richmond third, Dale Earnhardt fourth, and Bill Elliott in fifth. Or rather, Bill Elliott in fourth and Dale Earnhardt in fifth at the end of that lap. And it might be, once again, these 4 and everybody else that was just the mentality last season. It was just these four for themselves, and then fifth on back was a dogfight. And that's pretty much what it was. These guys didn't finish outside of the top 5 very often. If it did, it's due to some kind of weird thing or some kind of poor pitch strategy or a wreck. That's the only reason why any of those four finished outside of the top 5 last season. As you can see, Rusty Wallace is going to easily go around Ken Schrader, which I forgot to address that Rusty Wallace is driving injured this week. A couple of broken ribs is all that happened last week at Rockingham. Luckily, nothing too severe. He is saying that he is racing with a bit of pain, and we'll see how he continues to manage that through this race. This has got to be one of the most demanding racetracks on our circuit here. Like we said, it's a 1.528 mile oval. The turns are banked 24 degrees, and the turns actually make up a larger percentage of the length of this track than the straightaways. And that can just take a toll on your body, just having that constant G-force on you rolling through the corner. So we'll see how Rusty Wallace is able to cope as this race continues. Right now he seems to be doing okay, but obviously as we get later on into the race, things can change. Now you can see Tim Richmond trying to pass his teammate Ken Schrader for second. We take a look at the fastest lap times, and right now actually the fastest lap was turned by Ken Schrader in the 35. That comes as a bit of a surprise to me. Maybe not so much of a surprise to other people, but definitely a surprise to me. Schrader's really come out of nowhere these past... there's just... Last week, he seems to have come out of nowhere and put together a spectacular performance, and once again, he's putting together a really good performance. So potentially a resurgent season here for the 1985 Rookie of the Year, up in the top 5 again here in the early going. I have a feeling you're going to see that 35 car slowly drift back through the pack, though, because you know Earnhardt's going to be faster, you know Elliott's going to be faster. Meanwhile, we've had a good battle here the last few laps. I believe this is for the 7th position between Terry Labonte, Darrell Waltrip, and Geoff Bodine. You can see Terry Labonte finally winning that. Well, Waltrip's been getting some good runs on the high line here. He's been getting really good runs. He's been trying to get around. Let's see the 5 of Geoff Bodine. Able to get there. And now here comes the 28 of Davey Allison. And looks like he's going to go around Darrell Waltrip as well. And Waltrip might be introduced here to what's known as the Wayback Train. You get caught in that outside lane, and boy, it's very hard to get up off of it. This is a really rough surface, a really thin groove here at this track. So if you're up off that bottom lane, you're going to be at a big disadvantage. And you can see Phil Parsons is going to be able to move into the top 10 rather. Someone who had a very impressive showing at Rockingham, finishing second. Always a good way to start the non-super speedway season when you can finish second in a race. Anyways, back to the front and back to the battle for the 2nd position, as Ken Schrader's trying to repass his teammate Tim Richmond. Richmond up there on the high lane. And you'll see the 35 slowly chomp away here. And he'll take that 2nd position. Now this is the kind of racing that Rusty Wallace really needs. He's gotten out in front. He's got the clean air in front of him. And he can pretty much just sit there and relax and really take care of himself. He doesn't have to push the car right now. It's just smooth sailing in the lead. He could just watch the battle for second place behind him, and this is probably the optimal scenario for an injured Rusty Wallace, who's very lucky to have only come away with a few broken ribs. Luckily, the impact from Ricky Rudd wasn't exactly directly on the driver, but it was just up from him, so it was a very, very close miss. A few more inches to the left, and it could have been a fatal impact. Luckily, it wasn't. And the car flipping actually took away a lot of kinetic energy from the wreck. So he was just very, very lucky in that accident to only come away with broken ribs. Still, though, that'll impact your breathing, and when these cars get really hot here, luckily it's not a hot day here down in hot Atlanta, but you get into these hot cars, they can get up to 120, 130 degrees in these cars, and you got broken ribs. That makes it really hard to breathe, and if you're in a hot environment and it's really hard to breathe, you can't get air in, you can't get air out. It gets very, very difficult to manage. And I ran out of talking points. Dale Earnhardt's going to be able to get around Bill Elliott here. Elliott's going to slide on back here. And we should be expecting first pit stops around lap 30-ish. So we'll expect to see them to come down somewhere around there. Last time I thought that the Rockingham race that some of the guys pit a bit too late, but I was clearly wronged by that. Everyone played an excellent pit strategy with the exception of Jeff Bodine and Neil Bonnet. But yeah, everyone played an excellent pit strategy, and Tim Richmond ended up coming away with the win. Meanwhile, we've got a hot battle for the lead here. Schrader coming out of absolutely nowhere. This could be Schrader's best shot at his first career win here. He's got a very fast race car in that number 35 Folgers decaf machine. Hey, you know, any time that you're able to put your car up front like he has today, and just really put yourself in a position to win the race. And boy, Ken Schrader is hanging in with the championship 4 from last season. I gotta give him credit. He's really taking advantage of a couple of fast race cars that he's gotten here. I talked to the team earlier today. They had a brand new race car rolled out at Rockingham, and that did really, really well. So they're coming here to Atlanta, and these guys are on fire to begin the season. While looking further back, no major changes. Looks like Jeff Bodine got a really good run on Ricky Rudd through the corner. Let's see if that translates into anything. Likely not. No, never mind. As soon as I say likely not. Oh, Ricky Rudd held him off. Ricky Rudd. He's got to be starting to go into desperation mode soon. He has not won a race since 1985, and that comes as a shock to a lot of people. The last time he won a race was the Fall Charlotte race of 1985. And was the final of 22 races in a not 22, 21 races in a row where he led at least one lap. And after that streak ended, Ricky Rudd kind of just fell off of a cliff, and we thought that, hey, coming over to this 2016, he's going to have a resurgence. He's going to, he's going to have a fresh atmosphere to work with out of away from Bud Moore and all that stuff. It looks like, yeah, everything's going to be good. And then it's better. It's better than he had, but still a long, long way from a win. They've got a top 5 car, no doubt about that. The thing is that they need to go after the W. And right now, it's looking like it's going to be very difficult for Rudd to procure that W. Meanwhile, up here towards the lead, we got the battle for second, and like I said, the 27 of Wallace has really got to be enjoying this. That all he's doing right now, he's just out here up front, and he's just pacing himself. He's just turning lap after lap, just trying to be consistent, trying to hit his marks, trying not to overdo himself with his injured ribs, and right now he is out there doing, just a fantastic job. We'll see if that continues to occur. Wallace is going to need to find his way around Jim Sauter here, and there he goes. So, as you said, Wallace really acting more like a veteran driver who's in his late 30s rather than somebody who's in his early 30s. Wallace is really showing excellent composure here. He's not overdriving the car. He's not really driving with emotion. He's just driving with class. And he's classy at the front of this pack. Wallace is just really doing spectacularly here, no doubt about it. Meanwhile, Ken Schrader's starting to fall a little bit further back now. He might come under attack from Tim Richmond or Dale Earnhardt here shortly. More lap traffic ahead. Butch Miller, rookie in the 51. Rodney Coombs in the 89. J.D. McDuffie, who is no rookie, in the 70. Lap traffic is always a difference maker in these races, and usually Atlanta, we don't see the lap traffic being caught so early. It usually takes until after the first pit cycle to start catching lap traffic, but here clearly the spread in the field is wider, and we're catching lap traffic now. I'm just really impressed right now what Ken Schrader has been able to do thus far. Can he become the Rusty Wallace of last season? Rusty Wallace, who had 7 runner-up finishes coming into 1988. We all knew he had the potential to be great, but he just never was able to perform at that peak level, and then just completely broke out in 1988, got 7 wins, 19 top 10s, which actually isn't a career high. But he came into 1987 without a win on his resume. He ended up getting 7 of them. There's the potential that Ken Schrader, in that 35 machine, if they keep on pulling stuff like this over the season, they might be able to do something like that. Maybe put up a real contention. Of course, we're only 3 races in. We've gone to Daytona, Rockingham, and Atlanta. And of course, after this, we've got the short tracks ahead. We've got Richmond, we've got Martinsville, Bristol, North Wilkesboro. All of that lies ahead. Of course, the race after this is going to be at Richmond. You can see here just how much lap traffic can really come into play in these races. Sometimes they're just stubborn, they want to stay on the lead lap. You can see Ben Hess finally getting out of the way. Derek Cope now in the 10 car. He'll rise up and out of the way. And we're starting to get into the part where we should be seeing pit stops soon. And that's where things will start getting interesting. So we'll see how these guys cycle through. Ken Schrader still your leader. Dale Earnhardt in second. Tim Richmond third. Bill Elliott in fourth. Rusty Wallace just trying to hang on to the back here for fifth. You can't imagine he's trying to drive the wheels off the car. Now here comes 2 people down getting ready for pit road, and that's going to be Dale Earnhardt and Tim Richmond. And now things get interesting. Now I think Wallace here, he's going to try to push the car a little bit and see how his body reacts. He hasn't really had to do this all race long. So he's probably just testing to see how this move comes out. And you're going to see if all 3 of these guys are going to come down pit road. See if there's any takers for staying out. Here's Kyle Petty, who had a solid top 10 last week. He's coming down pit road. Larry Pearson coming down pit road. Michael Waltrip, Jimmy Spencer. Alan Kowicki, but I think he's already pit. So he's really not the guy to look for. We'll just watch Dale Earnhardt here. He pit with Tim Richmond and Terry Labonte. You can see Richmond and Labonte are way back. Richmond must have had a terrible pit stop. So here comes Earnhardt. We'll see who comes out where. There goes Derek Cope in the 10. There goes the 27 of Wallace. So Wallace didn't have a good pit stop either. And it looks like Elliott's going to come out just in front of Dale Earnhardt here. And Ken Schrader's going to be way up in front. So not only that, but they've got a good pit crew behind him as well. So Schrader is going to really try to prove himself here. Kid does not have a win yet in his career. Like I said, he's been in the league since 1985. His first race was the 85 Daytona 500. Ran himself to Rookie of the Year, beating out competitors such as Eddie Bierschwell and Alan Kowicki. So Schrader was able to do fantastically that season. And then he had, honestly, 3 straight seasons where he was really unimpressive. Oh, he started to get decent sponsorship with Dunleavy, and then he left Dunleavy. He went to Hendrick, and this team really flopped in 1988. I mean, really flopped. We were expecting good things out of Schrader when he went to Hendrick, but he just really flopped in 88. Now, it seems like Hendrick's starting to actually get the funding behind the 4th car, and you can clearly see it paying off for the young kid Ken Schrader. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to call him young, but you know, he's been in the league for 4 years. And you take a look at the people behind him. You know, Dale Earnhardt, he's been in the league forever. Bill Elliott's been in the league forever. Tim Richmond's also been in the league forever. And Rusty Wallace has been in since 1984. So all the people behind him that he's competing with, they've all been here longer. Also, Terry Labonte, I think his rookie season was 78 or 79 or something like that. That's what's up, man. So Ken Schrader, all that he needs to do is just keep chugging along like he has, survive a second pit stop, and he might actually be able to take home his first win in throwbacks. You know, so like I said, I don't want to call Schrader exactly a kid. He's not a kid, but at least comparatively in experience he is. Cup level experience. Schrader continuing to lead. Elliott's going to move down here on Earnhardt. They're going to battle for second place. Schrader's just going to give the thumbs up out the window. His gap's likely going to widen a bit here. And it looks like Earnhardt just shut Elliott down on the high lane. That was an excellent move by the 3 car there. We'll look back here as we've got a battle for the 4th position. They're going to go 3 wide into the first corner. You don't see people doing that often here. It's very rare to see people using 3 wide at this track. But that's exactly what happened right there. And looks like Wallace is going to get around Tim Richmond for that 4th position. So Wallace is just putting in a solid run. Meanwhile, Elliott in second here. He's going to try to run down Ken Schrader, who's kind of like a spring. He'll get out to about a half a second, and then Elliott will run him in. And as soon as Elliott starts running him in, Schrader will start pulling away. And then as soon as Schrader starts pulling away, Elliott starts running back in on him. And Elliott's really just gone back and forth. He's dropped all the way back to the bumper of Earnhardt's car, and then it's caught up to the bumper of Schrader's car. So he's really done a lot of back and forth here. But in general, of course, no progress. The next lap car that they're catching here is seasoned veteran Lake Speed. See if they can catch and get around him. Oh, here comes... Wow, that just shows you the speed of the leaders compared to the speed of everyone else. The fastest laps on the board still run by Ken Schrader. Meanwhile, we drop back and we try to find the 83's lap time. It is 3 miles an hour a lap slower than Schrader's pace, so you can really tell. And again, this track's really 3 wide prohibitive. Typically doesn't happen here. So will Atlanta's reputation for creating winners keep on going? And it looks like right now, I gotta tell you that Ken Schrader, he's got a very fast car today. And I think he's got an extremely good shot at winning this. And as soon as I say that, here comes Elliott to the bottom. The fans are going to love that, as Elliott's going to dive right down to the bottom of Schrader. Here comes Schrader up off of turn 2, and that was a great run. Is that going to be enough to clear Elliott? Just enough, yes. So Schrader's going to pull back into the lead. Oh, and Hendrick Motorsports might be going 3 for 3 this season. Keep the perfect record alive, 3 for 3 with 3 different drivers. Next week at Richmond, are we going to see Darrell Waltrip win? That would really be something. The same team win 4 races in a row with all 4 of their different drivers to start out the season. That would be something to see. Oh, you never know what can happen at these races, but I'll tell you what, if Darrell Waltrip ends up going out and leading a good portion of the Richmond race, I'm just going to be flabbergasted. Schrader's just doing a really good job right now. And this is what happens when you unload a fast car from the truck. And it should be mentioned that Tim Richmond being in 5th and Geoff Bodine being in 6th, this is about where they usually run. And Darrell Waltrip is just outside the top 10 in 12th, so all 4 of the Hendrick cars are inside the top 12. Not quite as good as they were doing in the last race, as they had all their cars inside the top 6 at one point. We can see the outer fringes of the top 10 here, as Ricky Rudd was just able to get around Davey Allison for the 9th position. And here we see Darrell Waltrip actually passing Sterling Marlin for the 11th position. So move Waltrip into the 11th position. As we go back up to the front of the pack. And we're just able to navigate around Jimmy Spencer, and soon they're going to have to navigate around the 30 of Michael Waltrip. We'll see what happens here. 35 drops down. He's going to navigate Michael Waltrip. And that right there is going to put 24 cars on the lead lap. The last car on the lead lap is Ernie Irvan. So you can see Ernie Irvan and Larry Pearson here. So it's about half a straightaway right now. As we said here, at Atlanta, it's a very short... Atlanta has very short straightaways. It's notorious for having short straightaways. And it's also, like I said, notorious for having those late race cautions that really shake things up. Elliott diving in deep, but I don't think that's going to do anything. And he was able to get to the bumper of the 35. But Schrader, of course, giving him absolutely no room. And Elliott now backing off a little bit. He probably had to. There's no way that that car was cornering while being that tight up against the 35. Meanwhile, it seems like maybe he's even losing more pace here, but now that we're catching the likes of Rodney Coombs, Larry Pearson, and Ernie Irvin, we'll see how things can maybe change. And the answer is not much. And yeah, Schrader's really doing a good job navigating the lap traffic here. Rodney Coombs kind of getting in the way. That's going to allow Dale Earnhardt to start playing again, something you typically don't want to see. But hey, things happen, Wallace is probably going to be able to catch up at this rate as well, as Rodney Coombs really continues to be an obstructionist, but if they're going too wide down the straightaway, there's really not much you can do. So that was just bad luck there by Schrader. And still nobody's able to find a way around the 89. So we're just going to sit here and wait. At this rate, Tim Richmond might come into play again as well. And there we go. And now Elliott gets shuffled to the outside. And that's something that always happens when that lap traffic gets involved. Elliott just gets shuffled to the outside. And Wallace has now worked his way up to third. Can he make his way back up to second here? He'll do it with a pass on Dale Earnhardt. And he's going to go for it in turn number 1. And he's going to get him too. Look at this run here by Wallace. And he's got it. So for the man that's 37th in points coming into this race, Rusty Wallace looking to have a solid second place run. Maybe even a win, which would be his 8th career win if it were to occur. And now here comes Wallace for the lead. Wow. Rusty Wallace trying to cash in here. We'll see if he's able to use the lap cars to his advantage. Indeed, that looks like the case. Maybe. Oh boy, Sauter really not playing ball here. In fact, Ken Schrader is going to maintain the lead because of the 44 car of Jim Sauter. And Sauter's still haven't given them a hard time. Now there's the pass area, the front straightaway, as they're going to finally be able to let go. Meanwhile, Ken Schrader is way out in front, and I think he might just have that might have just been his ticket to his first career win. We'll see if this holds up. There's still plenty of racing to go yet. There's still another pit stop to go yet. And probably that game-shaking late race caution that usually occurs. You can see Elliott back there battling Earnhardt. That's for third. Elliott's going to be able to take that position away. Wallace is just trying to come back from injury and plant a statement. He's not going to be phased. He's going to work his ass off just to get back into the car, which he's done, and now he's basically on the cusp of winning a race after having probably the most horrific wreck that I've ever seen at The Rock. I don't know if I'd describe it as horrific, but it was a pretty bad wreck. Earnhardt's pulling down into pit road, thus this pit stop cycle's going to begin. We'll see how this works. Last time, both Richmond and, I believe it was Richmond and Wallace, both of them had awful pit stops. Well, Wallace has recovered from that. Richmond has not. Elliott's going to come down pit road. The 35 and the 27 are staying out. And maybe this is the inexperience on their part. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it's their inexperience. But we'll see how things continue to go. The 35 and the 27 are going to dive off to pit road here. And here's Earnhardt. We're just going to pick him right up. And the cameras are going to follow him around the track. And you can see there's Tim Richmond in the 25. The thing that concerns me is that there's Geoff Bodine in the 5. There's Elliott in the 9. And some kind of issue happened there in the back straightaway. I don't know. We're still green. Oh, Morgan Shepherd wounded significantly in the 75 machine. Well, there's the 27. And there goes Earnhardt by. Bodine is in front. And the question is, where's Ken Schrader? I don't see Schrader anywhere. Is he further back? Yeah, Schrader is further back. So a bad late race pit stop is going to be crucial. Meanwhile, a remarkable pit strategy has put Geoff Bodine in position to win again here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mercy! Every single time we come here, we always write off this 5 car. Jeff Bodine, Jeff Bodine, Jeff Bodine. He's not going to do anything. He's slow. He's just going to be slow. No, that's just not the case. Every single time we think that this 5 car is just done, in the dumpster, screwed, just completely out of it, he's not. Every single time this guy finds some way to get to the front here at Atlanta, and once again he's done it. I'm not sure what he did on his pit stop, but he's found himself in the lead with single digits and laps to go, and a poor pit stop by his teammate Ken Schrader has just put Jeff Bodine in a perfect opportunity to win 2 out of 3 races to start the season. Well. I can't believe it. I honestly can't believe it this time. We've seen Bodine win here on speed. We've seen Bodine win here because of a caution. And now we're going to see Bodine win here because of some weird pit stop voodoo trick that I just don't understand. I'm going to have to ask Jeff Bodine's pit crew for Powerball numbers. They made up 10 seconds on pit road. So whatever they did was a hell of a work. Regardless of where Jeff Bodine finishes, whether he wins this race or ends up getting caught by Earnhardt and Elliott here in the late stages, it really doesn't matter. Just the fact that Bodine is up here at the front is just a huge testament to just how crafty these guys are at this track. That is incredible. 4 laps to go here at Atlanta. Jeff Bodine is leading, and I honestly can't believe I'm saying that, but Jeff Bodine is leading. Dale Earnhardt and Bill Elliott are catching. They are definitely coming in. They're probably going to catch them in the final lap, and things could get really interesting, especially if that 3 car gets to the back end of anybody. Well, speaking of interesting, now we're going to have this obstruction. Dale Jarrett and Dick Trickle, and this is going to definitely allow the 3 car to come up here. Yep, and there he is. Here comes Earnhardt. Here comes Elliott. Jeff's going to need probably a miracle to win this race. Otherwise, I think this one's going to pretty handily go to that 3 car. Here comes Earnhardt. 2 laps to go is when he's making the move. Earnhardt down low. Bodine trying to hold out up high. Who's going to have the advantage coming up off of turn 2? Earnhardt's going to have it. Now, can Elliott make any kind of move? Here they come to the white flag. 1 lap to go when we come to the line. Earnhardt in the lead. Elliott in second. Jeff Bodine pulling some kind of wizard trick to be in third. Elliott's losing ground to Earnhardt. It looks like it might be going to this 3 car. Elliott dives it in deep. Nothing he can do. Here comes Dale Earnhardt coming up off of turn number 4. And he is going to win here at Atlanta. An excellent race. An excellent race. Just great job by everyone involved. So that is going to be career win number 38 for Dale Earnhardt. That will move him ahead of Bobby Isaac on the all-time wins list. One more win will tie him with Tim Flock. And of course, winning is going to extend Earnhardt's early points lead out, as he's already up 58 points on Jeff Bodine and 64 points on Bill Elliott. And you can see the rest of the top 10. And as I said, Rookie of the Year favorite Hutch Strickland in the 57 car. He is just barely inside the top 20. Ernie Irvan having an excellent start to his season, also inside the top 20 in points. And you can see the rest of them. We'll take a look at the shamefuls here, as Davey Allison is really the only shameful, having 2 DNFs in the first 2 events, because he didn't DNF last time around. But still, 2 DNFs in the first 3 is not good at all. Even 1 DNF in the first 3 is not good. You don't want to have wrecked out already, but some people have. And, well, this is how the points work out. Well, the next time that we're going to air, we're going to have the Pontiac Excitement 400 at Richmond. We will see you then.